Yes.
21st September 2023. And we are at the 4th day of reading this amazing out to the world book. Thank you, Dane. Thank you so much. I've been reading it really religiously and I'm like, wow. So yes,
Thanks for choosing it. Thanks for choosing it.
yeah,
You chose it. It became
and
open to us.
long alone, I would probably not be able to read it. So what was coming to me the whole of yesterday was being should be the easiest thing to be. Isn't it?
मेरा नेट चला गया दोबारा बोल क्या बोला
मेरा नेट नहीं है
नहीं मेरा चला गया शायद था बीच में मुझे क्या बोला
I think I said being you should be the easiest thing to be. Don't you think so?
Yes, what a lovely question and awareness. बच्चा पैदा होता है वो थोड़ी सोचता मैं सुंदर हूँ मैं काला हूँ मैं लड़का हूँ मैं लड़की हूँ मेरे बाल घुंघराले हैं या नहीं है. I mean, he just is. Yeah.
At what age we learn to give up on ourselves and kept on choosing everything and anything but ourselves. Crazy, insane, I would say. And my hopes are getting higher and higher, looking at you guys and looking at what Dane and Gary are changing in the world. Get to see people who are choosing greater. And I can, not put it in words, but I can perceive the future. What do you all perceive? Dane talks a lot about we are the drop in the ocean, and simultaneously, same time, we are aware of the entire ocean, that we are part of that magnificent, phenomenal space, I would say. Do you also perceive that? And if we recognize that thread that they call that the string theory, if we recognize that string theory and we recognize that we are all connected, where's the separation? And what would the world be like in 5, 10, 50, 500 years? And what it is, I mean, in my lifetime, I have seen so much change from where my parent or I was. Why talk about parents? Where I was to where I choose to be now. Isn't that amazing? So, any questions, guys? I can just go on.
Morning.
Kamal,
Sorry.
something has come out, can I say? I had not thought it like this, it's just come out. So, when I did talk to the entity, since at least 3 of us are here, Angela was there, you were there. So, one of my asks there was that, now since you talked about, drop in the ocean, string theory, I had said that I would like to, I know Jim Lee said, why can't you have both your science as well as this and so on, so I said mujhe ek andar se aata hai that I go to the scientific institutions and do some workshops for them, तो मैंने ये भी पूछा पूरे बेशर्मों की तरह वहां मनी का है उसने कहा नहीं वो तो तेरा CSR है मनी देखी जाएगी तो मैंने कहा अच्छा that's nice so and one particular institute came in my mind so and I didn't do anything. The director called himself, and said that, can you come to our institute? That's in Odisha, to deliver a lecture, on something, to inspire our students. So मैंने उसको कहा, हाँ, I'll do that. But simultaneously, I can do a workshop also for your. He was saying the students. I said that I can do a workshop for your girl students. So
how cool is that?
He said, wow, great. अब मुझे बताएं. तो मैंने बताया.
Like I was talking yesterday, how it opens up when you think, when you say, it was in the evening class, I think, you already it's on its way. When you ask, it's there. The universe has started to arrange it and to deliver it to you. How it comes to you is not your job. Your job is just to ask. How
And
beautiful.
and for good maybe a month or something, I didn't. He said, "मैं थोड़ा सा भेज देना उसके बाद." I didn't revert back to him, and I was realizing that somewhere maybe I would be doubting myself or something.
Now
So that's
coming to the story.
okay. So now cutting
Magic,
the long story short,
magic be there. But
yeah.
when you have
तो
that,
मुझे अब
when you, what can I say? When you have that magic and then you go into मैंने ये नहीं किया, मैंने वो नहीं किया, अब हुआ नहीं है, ये नहीं हुआ, you killed it. You killed it.
thank you. So yesterday only I responded saying that yes, I'm coming. These are the, something I gave him brief. अभी मुझे thought आई that I want, 5 of you are there. At some time I'll, if you all agree, I'll set up a meeting. Need inputs from all of you. What tools you would like to put out in the world, so that I can also, I mean, bring.
Everywhere you think you're not enough. Everywhere you think that you need somebody else's assistance, rather than tapping into the world of all of us and the universe, and trust your knowing, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all?
Thank you.
Strong, good, bad, POC, POD, online shots, boys, provides, and you know everything, Nippy. You just have to tap into your knowing. Hi, Shimona. Hi, Renu. Now, do we have any questions from this book?
Kamal, there's a question.
Go for it.
The difference between, like, we all are been talking about the difference between being and doing. So yesterday again, it just came up. Ki what is being and doing? Like, being is the thin line actually, which is there between being and doing.
You already know it. So what's your question?
What is that? I just...
What is that thin line that you're talking about? What do you know?
So being is just a state, like what I get is being mein, there is no presumption, there is no it's just the action which comes naturally. And doing is like we have some presumptions and we have some agendas, is it?
Like I just told Nippy, that's what I think, it's right or wrong, I don't know. I just told Nippy that you know it. And everywhere you're doing to get somewhere. Did she do anything? She just asked in the group here in the class, oh, I would like to do something like that. Just that, and she didn't even think about it. She didn't contact anybody. That will be the doing. Oh, now I can do this. Now I'll get in touch with that. Now I'll get in touch with that. Now I'll do that. Rather than the being is also doing. Rather than just following the energy. If she got an awareness of that institute, she could say, oh, okay, if I call that one, would it be okay? That won't be doing, that will be being. But doing, jotting out all the different organizations that you can go to and tapping it, that's also not wrong. If you're following the energy, that's also not doing. That could be being. So it's just the energy. What do you know? Please start asking that. I've been asking those questions, and so many times in the class I've told you also that if I was being me, would I choose this? As simple as that. We make it so hard. Like I said, it's the easiest thing to be you, but we want to, not acknowledge that. What if you just asked, okay, if I was being me, would I be choosing this? What would I be choosing if I was being me? What is being me, universe? Show me. Just simple questions like these. Did I make any sense?
Yeah, I made it very simple. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else has any question? Or we should start reading chapter 8.
Yes. Which page are we on?
Chapter 8.
8. Okay.
Yeah. So, note to the reader. It's your choice, not your upbringing. that creates your reality. We blame so much on our upbringing. My parents have, stories, we have so many, rather than seeing that we always have a choice to choose what we want to choose. What have you chosen? Just because you could. That makes no sense to anyone. That is That's an indication to you of how different you are. Have you perhaps experienced unkindness or abuse and have somehow chosen to be a kind person? Or did you grow up with little money and have chosen to change it? Or did you grow up with people who judged constantly, but you have chosen to go beyond the need to judge? Will you please acknowledge that you have created a different reality than just what you were handed as a child? Will you please acknowledge just how amazing, potent you are? And will you acknowledge that if it is your choice, not your upbringing, that creates your life and living? Chapter 8. What if you chose your parents? Imagine this. You are this beautiful blinking spark of being in the universe, in the middle of doing your third somersault or a soft bubbly cloud. You chose to take on a body for a while, just for fun, and maybe as a step on your way to consciousness. Anyhow, you find these two people and smash them together. Bam! There you are. There you be. There your body is. It is kind of a vital piece of information that we are not given. You choose your parents, you potent little baby. Just check it out. Does it make you feel lighter? Get this. When you embody, you don't just get a body, you get this whole reality. It is almost like you are watching one of those latest night informational shows, and this particular one is selling lifetime here on planet Earth. You are watching it up there as a sparkly little being on your little cloud, and you are going, oh dude, really? I could go to Earth. Wow. From the cloud TV you hear, yes. And if you act now, you don't just get a baby, you get every limitation this reality has to offer. You will get to fight your way out of limitations. Limited reality at every moment. You will have it impinge upon you. You will have it try to suffocate you. You will have all kinds of people around you who don't want to know there's anything else available. You will have something to fight for every moment of your life until you die to prove you were a success. But only if you act now, operates standing by. And you think, operator standing by, and you think, okay, I will do that. That sounds like an adventure. This is why I say we are cute, just not very bright. Growing up in the ghetto, if you think your choice of parents and children were increased, interestingly, let me share mine with you for a moment. For the time I was 2 until age 9, I grew up in the ghetto. I was the only white kind of 8 square kid for 8 square miles. I was the only white kid I knew at my school. That's an interesting choice for a child, in this case, me, to make. Luckily, though most of the people in the ghetto had a lot of hatred in their universe, many of young children I knew hadn't learnt yet to judge and hate based on color yet. Sure, almost all the older people I knew, they were filled with it, but one had a way of learning to survive. But one has a way of learning to survive. Pat yourself wherever you've chosen that. I had some really wonderful friends in the ghetto, all of whom had different color skins than I did. I didn't realize we were different until I was about 8 years old. That's when someone first picked a fight with me for being different color. Looking back on that is what made me realize that kids are taught to judge. It's not something we come in with. The ghetto is really the crowning achievement of this reality. everybody learn to hate first and ask questions later, if ever. It's that hate there permeates everything and creates the lack of hope which keeps people in this circle and doesn't ever allow anything to change. It's that alignment and agreement and resistance and reaction to the rightness or the wrongness of the point of view there that keeps everything stuck. Talking about the ultimate multi-level marketing program of crap. That's not allowance in the ghetto. There's no allowance in the ghetto. At the same time, I had healthy grandparents and a father who was wealthy, sorry. So I would go visit my father or grandparents every other weekend. Then I would come back to the ghetto. My grandmother would take off all the nice clothes that I had worn during the weekend with her and then put my crappy clothes on me again. Because every time I went back to the house in the ghetto, the people my mom and I lived with would steal all my nice clothes and everything else that was worth stealing. Oh, the joy. It must have been a sight to see. My grandmother would drive up in her brand new Nicole Continental and drop me off in front of one of those ghetto houses, undress me outside the car, and take off my clothes and put my grumpy clothes back. Why couldn't she do it at home? Grumpy clothes back on. It was like Richie Rich meets Tito on net, whatever. My dad and grandfather had the point of view that we are white, we are rich, we are superior. My point of view was, try living my life. People hate me for being white here. People hate me for the thought that I have money, even though I don't. So I lived in this bizarre conflictual universe. A conflictual universe is where you have one universe, that's one thing, and then another universe that's totally different. And you can't make them congruent. I don't know if anybody wanted to join because I was looking here. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to all those who may have wanted to join. That's why I said, can somebody help me with it? There is somebody waiting here. Zola.
I have to make someone host. Maybe you can make me so that I can.
Can I make you the host? I asked in the
Yeah,
first.
please.
You were
Please.
not there first. So where do I make you the host?
It's in participants. Open the participants, and then there's in front of my name. You can make me host.
Where is the participants?
नीचे जो toolbar है.
Phone से होना
You
इसलिए
have
lap.
mute, you have stop video, then you have participants, then you have chat. You have all this now.
My God, I don't need specs for that, or do I? ये इतना इसके ऊपर पढ़ रहा है ना? हाँ, okay, I see participants. हाँ, so where is our Angela? Here you go. Make host. Yes. Okay.
Pawan, is the print of the book so light, or is it that I am also the one who's facing similar thing?
Yeah,
Like
it is so
I
light.
have I have a hard copy of it,
I
and
also
yeah, but the print is not just
specs on after
size
7
is
years.
small. Font नहीं font size भी छोटा है और light है print बड़ा.
Light. Yeah, that's why I can't.
You know what I've done with these books? I just want to share. मैंने photocopy करा के मेरी book इतनी मोटी है, इतनी with big print. It's a very big book now. I mean, I have the original also.
Take it out. I also have that.
So and it becomes easier to read.
Yeah.
Train भी नहीं पहुंचता.
Yeah,
So
I find that very difficult sometimes because एक तो print छोटा है और font size भी छोटा है.
Yeah.
Print light.
Angela, will you please now you are the host. Where is
Yeah,
Angela?
come on. I have admitted 2 people just now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Anytime.
Okay, so we were at
Conflictual universe. Last paragraph.
so I lived in a
Of 165.
okay. bizarre conflictual universe.
Yes.
A conflictual universe is where you have one universe, that's one thing, and then another universe that's totally different. And you can't make them congruent.
I have a question. What does this mean? And you can't make them congruent. मतलब जैसे डेन का हो रहा था कि ग्रैंडमदर रिच थी और ये घेटो में था.
Sorry?
I said ये conflictual universe वो कह रहा है you have one universe that is one thing and then another universe that is totally different. Like what he has talked about his grandmother and dad who believed that they were rich people, they were
Dadi,
white.
let's not go into the story. I'm sorry, I'm stopping everybody to go in the story. Just the question.
Okay. So no, so what does this mean? Like,
What
and
is
you can't make
What is conflictual reality to you, Dimple?
आप सोचते कुछ और हो लेकिन लिव कुछ और कर रहे हो.
That also. What else?
कॉन्फ्लिक्चुअल यूनिवर्स के आपके आसपास सब कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है.
चल रहा है. चल रहा है means?
कोई चीज किसी से मैच ही नहीं हो रही. हर टाइम वो स्वॉर्ड स्विंगिंग ही करनी पड़ती जा रही है.
So, what do?
So is that conflictual
Are you
universe?
torn apart because of that?
No.
No. You should do this, so you should do that. This one says you should do this. This one says this. Your mind is telling you that you want a different reality, but you keep following this reality. Aren't you torn apart?
Yeah.
You're always confused as to which one would you like to create or which one would you like to have. Can you cognitively choose that? With awareness, can you say, oh, this is the right one or this is not the right one? Have you done that in your life? Can you do that as a humanoid? Have you chosen that?
Partly. Kabhi kabhi.
Every time that you choose that, you're sure of your choices?
No. It's
That's
just chance.
what
It's
I'm saying.
choice.
That's what that you can't cognitively decipher what it is. That's exactly what he's saying. That
इसमें डिक्शनरी में लिखा है an incompatibility between two or more opinions.
yeah. So where are we? So rather than I mean, it's very clear where he's coming from and where are we? What triggered in me to ask that question? Where am I using all these? Where am I being in the conflictual reality? Where I'm not choosing to have a reality of my own? What would it create if I had a reality of my own? What would I choose if I had a reality? If I knew, if I honored myself, this is about being you. If I was being me, what would I choose? What would work for me? Of course, we cannot really, that will be a decision. That will be a conclusion that this is what I am going to choose. What if you were aware of what choices you could make at what time that to your advantage? What works for you? Rather than making one wrong or making both wrong. So if came in your world, what triggered? What is it that you really want to ask? Ask these questions yourself. You will always get the clarity as to where we are functioning from, where we are trying to justify it. Being you is not about justifying. Being you is not about choosing what doesn't work for you. Being you is just being in a space of lightness and awareness and present as to what will work for you. That's what I think. Maybe wrong. What do you get? We keep trying to see from the conflictual universe and we try to make sense to it.
Yeah.
So what if you ran What stupidity am I using to create the conflictual universes I am choosing? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pod, honest, short, boys, pervads, and beyonds. What do we do when we are in conflict with something? We make ourselves wrong, or we make the other person wrong, or we try to cognitively understand what it is. Can you ever understand? Because today you might be wanting to do the same thing that you didn't want to do a week back or a month back. Are we same? Usne pehle hi bola कि haven't you changed your financial reality? Haven't you changed? Are you the same one that you came in with? No. It's always a choice. What are you going to choose that's going to work for you now? Would an infinite being choose to be in conflict? Or ask a question? Not that infinite being has all the answers, guys. Oh, she's saying infinite being wouldn't want to be in a conflict, so that means the infinite being has all the answers. Maybe, maybe not. So asking a question will give you clarity. It gives me clarity. Oh, is what would work for me? And go with the lightness, go with the energy flow. Am I making any sense?
Thanks, Dimple, for the lovely question.
Yes.
So, Kanwal, can I say something here?
Yes, please.
देखो जब उसने ये बोला तो I mean many a times what works for me, like you said, what works for me is of course questions me, but many a times during the day I started noticing there's a noticeable shift in me. I keep on asking myself, where am I being present with me? मैं कौन से space में हूँ? Am I in a space of overwhelm or fear or lack? वो आ जाता है एकदम से. It's an awareness. It comes, oh, okay, so now how do I relax? How do I come to that space of relaxation? And then, when I don't make that wrong either, okay, ठीक है, हो गई fear and all. And it works beautifully. And then asking that what works for me. Also, I think कितनी बार दिन में जब ऐसे लगता है कि oh, I'm in a hurry or flurry or, there's, something that is कुछ धड़कन बढ़ गई है. So, that's, that was such a beautiful question. You got me back.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So where were we?
Page
Same paragraph, yeah?
Yeah. I knew.
Yeah.
So next is clearing.
Sorry?
Next is a clearing.
Yeah. Everything that creates your childhood and your reality as a conflictual universe, will you please destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pod, online shots, boys, pervads, and beyond. I know, so did you. When I realized what I realized is that I came to give my parents the awareness that they didn't have to live in judgment. Did I succeed? No. I used to try to see why or how I could have that much hate, anger. What is that word? Directed at me on the constant basis while living in the ghetto, and still just wanted to give those very people a hug and say to them, you don't have to be that way. Come on, let's hug. I wanted to figure out why and how I could be that way. Because if there were a reason I could come up with, then I would show other people how to pay it and show other people how to have it too. Do you suppose any of that could be true for you? Have you ever just wanted to show people that they have other choices? Have you ever wanted to just hug them and let them know that it could all be different and a lot easier? But unfortunately, you can't show other people how to be or have it. It's a choice that is beyond any reason and justification, beyond anything that is cognitive. When you choose something, no one can ever take it away. And you always have a choice, always. Did you come to your parents to gift them something that they refuse to receive? What if you come to give your parents something, some gift or awareness? Maybe you came to show them that they were loved, or that they could have a greater life, or that they didn't have to suffer, or that they didn't have to judge, or that anger and sadness was not their only choice. For most of us, because they refused to receive it, we decided we were failures. You know what? It's not you that you failed. They just didn't want it. Did you hear me, my beautiful friends? It's not that you failed. They just couldn't or wouldn't receive it. Or you. And it's not your fault in any way. Really. Truth. Promise. It's not their fault either. They just had their fixed point of view already in place. It is not that they are bad and wrong. It was just what they were willing to choose. They were doing the best they could with the tools that they had. Some of them had such woeful, inadequate tools. We also cute and not so bright. What do we need to do to try to change it? It seems like one thing we most often do is take the parents that love us the least and create a relationship with someone that is just like that. Apparently, we figure that if we can change that person, then we can finally heal what we couldn't heal in the parent who didn't love us as much as we hoped for. Then finally, we might be able to come out of the judgment that we are a failure. We think finally we might be able to come out of judgment of us, because we are sure that this failure of ours must be the source of wrongness of us that we have perceived our whole life. Wow. What if none of that was true? What if it wasn't your mission to heal your parents? What if there is absolutely nothing wrong with you or with them? What if that nagging feeling of wrongness were from something else entirely? If this applies to you, and what age did you decide you were a failure? 2, 4, 6, second day after birth, second month after conception? At whatever age you decided you were a failure because your parents refused to see the gift that you are, would you be willing to give all that up now, destroy and uncreate it, and claim, own, and acknowledge that you are the gift you came to be, even if you don't know what that is? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, honest, shorts, boys, pervades, and beyond. I like to repeat this. At whatever age you decided you were a failure because your parents refused to see the gift that you are, would you be willing to give all that up now, destroy and uncreate it, and claim, own, and acknowledge that you are the gift you came to be, even if you don't know what that is? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, honest, shorts, boys, pervades, and beyonds. Thank you. You are not any better than us, dear. How much of your life have you created in order to validate your family's point of view about what's possible and what's not possible? That's pretty much the point of view that pervasive in the world. You cannot go and be any different, especially not greater than your family was. You can be a little bit less than, but you can't be greater than. You can't be freer of judgment. You can't make more money. You can't enjoy your life more than your family did, because they are the ones who taught you how to get by in this reality. Or you spent your whole life fighting and resisting any point of view your family has, proving over and over again that you are just like them, just on the other side of the coin of their reality. How much of your life have you spent being your dad while resisting being your dad? While being your dad, while resisting being your dad? How often of your life have you spent being your mom while resisting being your mom? while being your mom, while resisting being your mom, everything that holds all that in place, will you please, all of that, will you let all of that go and destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, awkward, online, shorts, boys, provides, and beyonds. Thank you.
This is so expansive.
I
So
know.
expensive. Like
So-
when you say that, you become what you hate.
Exactly. If you choose your parents, do you suppose you would be willing to look and see what gift you have received by picking these two people? That's so beautiful. If you chose your parents, do you suppose you would be willing to look and see what gift you have received by picking these two people? Ask this question: what gift have I received by choosing these people as my parents? Everything that doesn't allow you to see the gifts you have received by picking the parents you picked, will you please be willing to destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, online, shorts, boys, provads, and beyonds. Thank you. As a reminder, what have you chosen? Just because you could. That made no sense to anyone else. That is an indication of you, of how different you are. Will you please acknowledge that you have created a different reality than just what you were handed as a child? Will you please acknowledge just how amazing, potent you are? And will you now acknowledge that it is your choice, not your upbringing, that determines your life and living? And everything that doesn't allow to show up for you now, will you please destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, awkward, online, shorts, boys, provides, and beyonds. Thank you. What would you look like? What would you look like to choose as your life? What would you now like? Oh, sorry. What would you now like to choose as your life? Note to reader, the path to consciousness. You want to have a different world? Come out of the judgment of you. That's so beautiful. You want to have a different world? Come out of the judgment of you. When you stop judging you and stop judging everybody else, you become the difference and the change that you have desired. And maybe even ask for your entire life. You be you when you create and generate a living that is joyful for you. You are the change on the planet, and you are the gift that heals the planet. If you have ever been looking for a path to consciousness, this is it. And I don't mean my book or my Access Consciousness. I mean you being you. It's not about going and doing some impossible task with some impossible dreams in some impossible place where you don't even know what it is and you don't have the tools for. It's not about living in a cave and meditating your whole life. It's not about forsaking this reality and all the yummy, fun stuff you can do and have and be here. It's about living with ease, honoring yourself and others, creating your life with everything you would like to have in it, all with a sense of ease, joy, and glory. That is what it's about. You have the tools, you are the tools. Now is the time, my beautiful friends. Glory, exuberant expression, and abundance. Everything is a choice. Extra notes to readers from 2012. यही है ना, एक पेज मिस तो नहीं हो गया? No. I sit rather pensive in anticipation of rewriting this chapter of Being You, Changing the World. In order to rewrite this chapter, I had to revisit a subject that I thought I had long left behind me. And in so doing, I am confronted with just how different my point of view of the world is than most of the people I call my brothers and sisters on this planet. You. Previously to me, this chapter was one chapter in a large book of possibilities. Having lived through what I will describe to you changed my entire life, literally. But having to revisit the subject for the perspective of telling what occurred and what I learned from it in order to truly describe what might be possible for you the readers, has opened my eyes yet again. Let me tell you a bit more before diving into the subject at hand. Literally 2 days before the Swedish version of the Being You manuscript was to be typeset, the publisher called to ask if we could remove this chapter from the book. To say I was startled is a bit of an understatement. You see, I have received literally hundreds of emails from people telling me that this chapter, in its previous iteration, had given them a perspective that quite literally saved their lives. My response to my very kind publisher was no. But in listening to her express to me her reason for wanting to remove the chapter, I realized that in the initial Being You manuscript, I did not give enough information to you, the reader. I also realized that my reason for writing this chapter in the first place was to give people a different perspective. That it did. But yet, more information was actually required. So I offered to rewrite the chapter to make it a chapter I wanted to be when I wrote the book, but wasn't able to write. Yes, I changed too. I have realized that many times in our lives, when we live through an event, we often take for granted that other people will get the perspective we have come away with as a result of that event. Even though their life experience has been quite different than ours, we just seem to assume that others see the world as we do in some very fundamental ways. You would think that because I do what I do for a living, I would know that like the back of my hand. On one hand, I do, and on another, I have just been given a huge gift of awareness. Hopefully, one that will more effectively explain the potentially controversial subject in this chapter. Also, this one chapter, if taken out of the context of entire book, could seem harsh to people. That was not exactly the effect I was looking for. So what you see before you is somewhat different chapter than you otherwise would have read if my Swedish publisher had not been looking out for you, and in the process looking out for all of us. Also, in the New English version, the chapter will change as if of late June 2012. If you want to see what the previous version said, feel free to look for the second-hand copy somewhere. Consider this very invitation to have a totally different awareness about a few very controversial subjects that I have come to have a very different perspective about. Okay, beautiful brothers and sisters of this beautiful planet, you are lucky enough to call home. Here it goes. I thought when I read this chapter, I thought I'll miss it. I will not read it for you guys. But then I thought we need to, that's my point of view, that we need to know that there is nothing wrong. You could change because you have changed. So many times I look at my writings or look at something and I have a different perspective. I keep changing it. I've written a paragraph and I'll keep changing it, the meaning according to what I think, but not exactly the same way people get. So I thought that was worth reading. Sorry. Sorry. Note to reader. Understanding versus awareness. Do you understand? How many times in your life have you heard that question or asked it? Please take a moment to look at this. Are you trying to live your life from a cognitive point of view? Are you trying to understand how it works to get it right? Most of us are. Here's another possibility for you to consider. It doesn't work. We start by having a point of view that I think, therefore I am. From that, we conclude that choice is cognitive, but it's not. We have chosen lots of things that weren't cognitive. And we think that understanding is awareness, but it's not. Awareness oftentimes has no understanding to it. Awareness oftentimes has no understanding to it because it has no point of view of it. It just is. Understanding is inferior to awareness. Understanding is a function of your mind. Awareness is a function of you, the being. Trying to live our lives from the cognitive point of view is one of the greatest limitations we have. And please don't try to get this cognitively. Just ask, is it light or heavy for you? Don't try to understand it. Chapter 9. If death were a choice instead of the wrongness, could you then fully live? If death were a choice instead of wrongness, could you then fully live? Would you be willing to dive into the deep end with me for the moment, please? Now, this may truly go against everything you believe in. Okay, consider yourself warned. Hold on and remember, everything is the opposite of what appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what appears to be, and everything is the opposite of what appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what appears to be. Guys, you can use this anytime you're not feeling, not getting good sleep, you are somebody, your head is spinning, or somebody is irritating you, sitting there with you, and you want them to vanish. Try this, it works. Do you realize that death and change are made completely wrong in this reality? Death is perceived as one of the worst things that can possibly happen to you. Incredibly, so is change. How much question is there in that point of view? None. And when you don't ask a question, you cut off your awareness of any other perspective that might be possible. So I wonder what could show up if we didn't make death or pain as or change wrong. Instead, began to wonder what is actually got on here. If everything is choice, I wonder how this got created or for what reason. So you see how just ask those small questions can open up. Asking those small questions can open up a totally different possibility. They take you out of conclusion where no other possibility exists and allow the doors to other possibilities to open. Take something as horrific as 9/11. If you take the conclusion, this is so horrible out of it, what awareness might be there? What possibility might be there that you haven't yet considered? The possibilities are there is almost any situation. But in order to see them, you have to be willing to look for them and ask them to show up. How do you do that? By asking questions. Oh, that again. What if all those other possibilities were kind of like scared little children? What do I mean by that? In the world of trying to come to conclusions about everything which we currently live in, these possibilities have been so forgotten and abandoned and told they have no value for so long that they are now hiding. They aren't willing to come out and play anymore unless you search for them and let them know you are willing for them to be present in your life. You do not by asking a question. You do that by asking a question and then being willing to be open to totally different possibility. This part is so important in order for new perspective or awareness or possibility to come into your world. You have to be willing to let it. Yes, you. Let's give it a shot. Let's go to the event called 9/11 and look for a place of what else is possible and maybe even ask some questions. As a start, isn't it interesting that two buildings that would normally hold nearly 50,000 people had only 3,000 die that day? In any other situation that could be considered amazing at the very least, some would call it a miracle. What if the fact that only 3,000 people died that day instead of 50,000 was an amazing miracle? And what if every single one of them was doing their very best to give us all the amazing gifts, amazing wake-up calls in the process? Yes, I know that many surviving family members have experienced pain at losing their loved ones might initially scoff at this concept. And I totally understand that and them. What I am trying to do is is present a different explanation that might give all of us, even the family members left behind, a greater level of peace and awareness. Let me try to explain a bit more. What would it take for you to realize that there are choices that you make as a being that go far beyond your cognitive understanding? If every choice that you are making didn't have to have cognitive understanding or cognitive awareness, would you have more choice available? And would you recognize that you were choosing even when you were not cognitive about it? What if there was something that the people in the building and the planes knew that goes far beyond this reality? What if they truly are infinite beings with means, which means their awareness goes far beyond just this reality and is limited awareness and limited choices? What if on some level they knew they could make a contribution or to change the world? What if the way they chose to do it was allowing their bodies to die that day so they could wake other people, us up? The world changed that day. You can argue that it has changed for the worse. That could be true. Or it is possible that the world would have been much worse if 9/11 had never occurred. What if it was a wake-up call, facing people into the awareness that change is necessary? If it was part of the demand for one more consciousness? And what if every single person that chose to allow their bodies to die that day contributed to that awareness for the world? My question is, does it make you feel light? I know of people whose alarm didn't go off that morning, or they got in the taxi and got stuck in rush hour traffic, or their kid was sick, or they just got a clear message that they needed to turn around and not go to those buildings that day. Literally, what if this is what the people created, who were choosing something other than to die that day? What if those people knew that the greatest gift they could be was to stick around? What if there's something much larger going on than we have been willing to consider? Once again, what's true for you makes you feel light? What makes you feel lighter? One interesting thing that occurred directly after 9/11 is the New Yorkers invited total strangers into their homes, caring for them rather than fearing for their lives or possessions. That had not been the case in New York City since the 60s. The city banded together in a show of caring and solidarity that was unlike anything the city had ever experienced. Would you consider that a gift? One other interesting thing that I have noticed when asked many people, when they started on their journey of exploring possibilities beyond this reality, many of them tell me they started exploring 2001 and 2002 or 2003, the very year after 9/11. Coincidence? Maybe. And maybe the people who were brave enough to change that day really had the effect they were looking to have. And please understand, I am not talking about the cognitive choice. If I hide, maybe I don't die. These seems to be the two common ways where people decide or something that sets their body on the path towards death. One is where you decide when you are young that you won't live past a certain age. It's just a decision. Then you get past that age and life stops because you thought you were going to be dead. So you projected enough life to that point, projected enough life to that point. And then you prepare to die. Weird, huh? Do you have a drop dead date? I'd like to tell you about something we'll call Cynthia. She was 54 years old when I met her, and absolutely nothing in her life worked. I asked her a lot of questions, and finally we found the limitation that literally was killing her. And I have to tell you, this was a surprise to me. When Cynthia was around 3 years old, she had decided that she wasn't going to live past 51. and everything in her life slipped out of her hands when she turned 51. She stopped making money, she stopped having friendship, everything just stopped. 51 was her expiry date. Do you have an expiry date when your body is supposed to kick off? At what age? Do you see the insanity in that point of view? For example, Cynthia made this decision at age 3. What exactly does a 3-year-old know about death and aging and when they would like to die? This is another example of a totally non-cognitive choice that was having a huge effect in someone's life. If you have one of those drop dead deaths, would you please now destroy and uncreate it and destroy and uncreate everything you learned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to that allows it to exist? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, online, shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyond. But wait, there's more. The one common way to set your body on the path towards death is if you are in relationship or some situation that you want to get out of. And so you go, oh, I'm dead, or I just want to die. And you make that the decision to die so that you can get out of it. You set your body on the death course, and it becomes really tough for you to have life and you to have any form of abundance. It's weird, I know, really weird. Let me give you an example. Gary was working with a woman in age 70, in her 70s, who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. She asked her, he asked her, what are you dying to get out of? That's the question you ask person who's on a terminal, am I saying it right?
Terminally ill.
Terminally ill, thank you. She answered, my relationship. Gary asked her, have you considered getting a divorce? She said, oh no, I could never do that to my children. He asked, how old are your children? She said 54. No matter how hard Gary tried, she was totally unwilling to change her point of view. He gave her money back and told her he couldn't help her. She died of breast cancer. Most people think if I hide, maybe I won't die. No, actually, if you choose to live, then you won't die. So beautiful. If you choose to live, then you won't die. I know, like many other things we've already covered, it's weird. First, we have to undo the decision to die. If you're willing to, that, by the way, is exactly what the clearing statement is for. Undo the yuck that you have no way to undo until now. Second, you have to actually make the choice to truly live. A lot of people have trouble getting past disease processes, poverty, and depression because they haven't yet chosen to live. And look, if any of this is light to you, it is time to choose differently now, to choose living. For those of you that know this applies and would like to change, would you be willing to right now? It's time. If you want, I can finish this small note to reader, or I can just do it. Leave it here. Anybody?
No, there's a clearing here. Will you now destroy and uncreate? That's just, and then comes a small note to the reader. Is it different in yours? On page 182.
Yeah, there is will you now destroy and uncreate. Uske baad,
Uske baad and everything that doesn't, and thank you from me and my body. And by the way, just check in with your body right now, any lighter. You have this? And there's a story with a happier ending.
You want me to read this, guys? Will you not destroy and uncreate every time you decided to die and that you wanted to die to get out of something, and everything that doesn't allow that, let that go now, please. And will you now please make the choice and the demand to live, no matter what that looks like, no matter what it takes, and everything that doesn't allow that, let's destroy and uncreate it all, please. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, on a short, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. Thank you for me and your body. By the way, just check in with your body right now. Any lighter? Let me tell you a story with a happier ending. There was a woman I worked with, let's call her Kendra, whatever, who had what is that?
Uterine fibroids.
Okay. Diagnosed by the medical doctor with ultrasound results to prove it. When I asked her what's the value in holding on to this, she realized that it was the only way she knew of healing people around her. Her body was literally trying to heal others by taking their pain and disease, which is far more common than most people could ever realize. With a little questioning and you using the clearing statement to undo where she felt she couldn't do it any other way, and a little ESB work. Everybody knows what ESB is. She was fibroid free. She went back to the ultrasound lab because she was scheduled for surgery to remove the fibroids and wanted to see if there was a change from our session. The ultrasound technician started in disbelief as he ran the ultrasound band over her abdomen while looking at the film from the previous scan. He finally pronounced that the first ultrasound must have been wrong because he detected no fibroids. Happy. My sister removed 3 whatever it's called.
Fibroids.
Fibroids from her stomach by using the body processes. How cool is that? Somewhere, somehow in our sessions, Kendra got what she needed to choose something different. Please know it's always a person's choice, not mine. I love
Yeah.
this book.
Thank you. Yes.
And thank you for reading it with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh. It's only my people here. I
Thank you.
love you guys.
Thank you, Kamal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Mamta, for pushing me.
Yeah, thank you, Mamta.
I've been asking Zora, please join.
So sweet. Thank you so much for Zora joining. I'm so grateful.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
I'm getting to learn.
Okay, guys. We
My
just
body, my
we
being.
just read it. People, I think, probably leave it. कि ये तो हम अकेले ही पढ़ लेंगे, because the first day there were quite a few, but that's okay. That's all right. There's no
So
facilitator.
tomorrow, Kamal, are we supposed to be reading the next couple of
Next-
pages before we come
next-
to small note to the reader?
So next 50.
Next 50 pages.
Something, right? 4 days.
Okay.
So 200.
Okay. So we read the next 50 pages and come tomorrow with questions.
Yeah, so it will be, I think, chapter 10.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
214, chapter 7.
That's
Okay.
easier
No,
for
sorry,
us.
chapter 10. Right. So we'll read from chapter.
Huh.
You have any questions from the previous?
All right.
They're welcome. Love you all.
Okay.